My 16-year-old son has been sneaking off to a mansion across town every weekend, and when I finally followed him, I discovered my husband of 20 years living there with another woman and 3 kids who look exactly like him. Let me take you back to how this all started. For 2 decades, I thought I had the perfect marriage. David and I met in college, built a beautiful life together, raised our son Jake in a lovely suburban home. David worked in real estate, traveled frequently for property acquisitions, but he was devoted to us. Or so I believed. Jake had always been a homebody, preferring video games to parties. So when he started disappearing every Saturday morning, claiming he was hanging with friends, my mom's radar went off immediately. The first red flag? He started dressing better. Designer clothes I'd never bought him. When I asked where he got that expensive jacket, he shrugged. Friend gave it to me. Then came the lie about his location. He said he was at the mall, but when I drove by to surprise him with lunch, he wasn't there. When I called, he answered whispering, "Mom, I can't talk right now." Something was very wrong. The breaking point came when I found a business card in his jeans pocket while doing laundry. Rosewood Manor, Private Estate Management. I googled the address. It was a massive mansion in the wealthy part of town, worth at least $3 million. Why would my teenage son have this? That Saturday, I followed him. Jake took the bus across town, walked up to this stunning colonial mansion like he owned the place, and used a key to walk right in. My hands were shaking as I sat in my car, staring at this house. I waited 2 hours. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. David's car pulled into the driveway. My husband. The man who was supposed to be in Chicago on business. Getting out of his BMW at a mansion my son apparently had access to. And then I saw her. A beautiful blonde woman, maybe 35, ran out to greet him. She threw her arms around his neck and kissed him like I used to kiss him. Behind her, 3 kids came running out. A teenage girl who looked exactly like Jake. Twin boys around 10 who had David's eyes, his smile, his everything. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't happening. But it got worse. Jake appeared in the doorway, and this woman hugged him. Not like a stranger. Like a mother. The other kids were laughing, pulling Jake toward a basketball hoop in the driveway. This wasn't an affair. This was a whole other family. I sat in that car for 3 hours, watching my husband play basketball with children I'd never seen before, watching him kiss a woman who wasn't me, watching my son fit seamlessly into this perfect family portrait that I wasn't part of. When Jake finally came home that evening, I was waiting. "How was the mall?" I asked. "Fine," he mumbled, heading upstairs. "Jake." My voice was steel. "Sit down." I placed the business card on the kitchen table. His face went white. "Mom, I can explain." "Try." The truth came pouring out. David had been living a double life for 8 years. The woman was Sarah. She thought she was his only wife. The kids Emma, 16, and twins Michael and Matthew, 10, they were Jake's half-siblings. "Dad said you guys were getting divorced," Jake whispered. He said it was too complicated to explain, but that Sarah needed him more because she was sick for a while. He said I could have 2 families, that it was better this way. My heart shattered into a million pieces. Sick? I managed. She had cancer a few years ago. Dad said that's why he couldn't leave her, but he couldn't leave us either. He said he loved us both. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break everything in sight. Instead, I held my son while he cried, apologizing over and over for keeping this secret. But then Jake said something that changed everything. "Mom, there's something else. Sarah's been asking questions. She hired a private investigator because she found some of Dad's things that didn't make sense. She knows something's up." 2 days later, my phone rang. "Is this Mrs. Jennifer Collins?" An unfamiliar woman's voice. "Yes. This is Sarah Mitchell. I believe we need to talk." It's about David. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our neighborhoods. Sarah was even more beautiful in person, but she looked exhausted, haunted. She slid a folder across the table. "I know about you," she said quietly. "And he doesn't know that I know." The folder contained everything. Bank records showing David had been funneling money between two households. Photos of him at Jake's soccer games that she'd found hidden in his office. Even a copy of our marriage certificate that she'd somehow obtained. "I hired a PI 3 months ago," she said. "David told me his ex-wife was crazy, that he had to keep paying her to keep her quiet about false abuse allegations. He said Jake was troubled and needed therapy, that's why he visited so often. This man had manipulated both of us for years." But Sarah wasn't done. "Jennifer, there's more. The house? It's not his. It's mine. I inherited it from my grandmother. The business he claims to run? It's my family's company. He's been using my money to support both households." I felt sick. "So we've both been paying for his lies." "Not anymore," she said, and pulled out another document. "I already filed for divorce. And I'm pressing charges for financial fraud. But I need your help." Here's what we discovered. David had been forging documents, claiming business expenses that were actually payments to maintain our household. He'd stolen nearly $200,000 from Sarah's inheritance over the years. We decided to confront him together. That Saturday, I showed up at the mansion with Sarah. David's face when he saw us standing side by side was priceless. "Jennifer, what are you? Sarah, why is she?" "Sit down, David," Sarah said calmly. "We know everything." He tried to lie, tried to spin some story about protecting us both, about loving two families. But we had documentation. Bank records. Photos. Even recordings from Sarah's security system of him talking on the phone, trash-talking both of us to someone else. "There's a third woman, isn't there?" I asked, watching his face crumble. He broke down completely. Yes, there was another woman in Denver. No kids, but he'd been promising to marry her for 2 years. The aftermath was swift. Sarah's lawyer was ruthless. David lost everything: his real estate license, his reputation, his freedom. He's currently serving 3 years for fraud. Sarah and I? We became friends. Our kids are siblings, and they deserve to know each other. Jake spends weekends at the mansion, but now it's honest. Sarah's kids come to our house too. Last month, Sarah and I took all 4 kids on vacation together. People kept asking if we were sisters. We just smiled and said, something like that. David destroyed 2 families, but somehow we built something better from the wreckage. Sarah's cancer is in remission. Jake is in therapy, learning to trust again. And I'm stronger than I've ever been. The best part? Last week, Sarah handed me an envelope. It was a check for $100,000, my share of the money David stole, plus interest. "Partners?" she asked. "Partners," I agreed. Sometimes the most devastating betrayals lead to the most unexpected blessings. Have you experienced something like this? Tell me in the comments.